What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Che Cole. I'm super excited, man, because today is March 19th, 2024, and I am getting ready to defend my doctoral dissertation, a phenomenological study on Black millennial perspectives regarding Christian clergy leaders. So I've been on this journey since 2020, and it's finally coming to an end. And I'm just super excited, man, to see what comes from it and what the next steps hold. And so just looking forward to this journey and finally seeing it come. Like, this is surreal to even be here now. So yeah, hopefully I'll get some footage of it and come back afterwards. But just wanted to highlight and commemorate the moment with this. So yeah, pray for your boy as we get ready to go in. Alrighty. So thank you all to the committee, to all my family and friends who were able to join. Thank you all as well. So today I'll be talking through my dissertation study, a phenomenological study on the perceptions of church-going Black millennials regarding Christian clergy leaders. So just a brief overview of the sections that we'll discuss. So each chapter will be discussed, including the introduction, the literature review, the methodology, the findings of the research, and a discussion of that research, and then Q&A for the committee. So in the introduction, research looking at the perspectives of church-going millennials on Christian clergy leaders has been scarce. There's a shortage of adequately trained clergy that is adversely affecting the overall growth of the church. And millennials born between 1981 through 1996 lead an exodus from organized religion. So basically, when you think of what is taking place in the church, we're really focusing in on what is taking place in terms of people leaving organized religion and millennials leaving or leading that exodus from organized religion. So the perspective in which this research really hones in on is the clergy leadership from the perspective of those millennials. And so in looking at the problem, the decline in millennial religious activity and belief continues to affect Christian leaders and churches around the globe, right? Younger generations have felt voiceless in the church, and leaders have to be willing to listen to their perspectives. So the problem really is how do Christian clergy leaders address this exodus from the church and from organized religion? So the literature gap, this study helps fill in the gap of current literature by understanding the leadership components that affect the decisions of Black millennials to stay involved in Christian church activities. So much of the research that has been done looks at the spiritual aspects, the spiritual components, the religious aspects of why people are leaving the church. This study focuses in on how clergy leadership affects it, and also not from the perspective of those who have left the church, but those who are actively participating in church-related activities and continue to attend church. Right, so while many studies have evaluated the participation of millennials in church, not many have added to the rich details that can be gained from the generation's perspectives. There are a lot of studies that look from a pastor or a clergy leader's perspective of the problem, or again, from millennials who have already left the church. So, and again, studies on religious entities and perceptions of faith have focused on the spiritual aspects of church leadership. So knowledge of the Word of God, knowledge of the Bible, things of that nature, and haven't evaluated the leadership components that play or impact or influence religious engagement. So the study purpose, this study explores the perceptions and experiences of church-going Black millennials regarding their engagement in the Christian church and with Christian clergy leaders. And so this study informs Christian clergy leadership practices regarding millennial engagement within the church and how the relationships with clergy influence their participation in the religious experience afforded through Christian institutions. And so just to provide some clarity on what a clergy leader is, and it was intentional, the use of clergy here, because different denominations, different churches honor different titles. And so I really want to focus in on clergy leadership. So this could include the senior leader, or it could include a minister or someone who may not be the senior leader of a church, but also clergy leaders within that particular church or organization. So the research questions: how do Black church-going millennials perceive their experiences with the church and with clergy? How do Black millennials frame their participation in relation to the experiences with the clergy? And how can Black millennial perspectives inform Christian clergy leadership practices regarding engagement in Christian churches? So the literature review, I'm just going to touch on this really briefly. So there were 5 different sections encompassing the literature review: the role of faith in the Black community, so looking at the impact of faith in the Black community, church and clergy leadership, millennials in church, clergy influences on congregants and participants. And then I added this section here, millennials in organizations, that looks at millennials' involvement and engagement in other institutions that may not be the church, right? So think your nonprofits, your corporate jobs, and things of that nature. The thing to highlight within the role of faith in the Black community is that when you think historically of the quote unquote Black church, it was, and the civil rights movement, it was through the church that a lot of the civil engagement and social needs were met for Black people. And when you look at younger generations now, they have turned to other institutions outside of the church. So when you think of your Black Lives Matter movements, your fraternities, sororities, and other community ventures, that has been the trend that we've seen. So we've started from civil rights movement, and even before, from the church being an impactful place for community endeavors and social engagement, and the civil rights movement, to now younger generations, including millennials, are turning to other organizations. And so this last bullet here speaks to a particular study that was done that really evaluated the role of faith, the role of God in different demographics' lives, and Black participants scored higher on every category. So this just speaks to the fact that Black people tend to be more religious or more inclined to believe in God, to facilitate in religious experiences. So church and clergy leadership, religious leaders, clergy leaders are regarded as instruments for community building, right? And pastors highlight their role. So again, speaking back to much of the research being highlighting leaders' role, pastors highlight their role as someone who can provide congregations with knowledge of God and common sense. And so other studies implore pastors to model healthy behaviors for their congregations because of the influence that they have on the congregants and people that attend their churches. When you look at millennials in church, they're really looking for churches and leaders that studies have shown that they're looking for people or churches that have great connections, established relationships, mentoring. Those are the most effective programs in fostering the spiritual formation among millennials. They're really looking for that personal touch, right? And then when you look at some of the trends that other churches have done to engage millennials and younger generations, it tends to go on being culturally relevant. So whether that's through fashion or the use of technology, and doing those things to engage millennials. When you look at clergy influence, in and of itself, a lot of what has been researched in terms of the influence looks at health, the health of the congregants, and how clergy influence participants and congregants' health, whether that's mental health, financial health, spiritual health, and really focusing in on those aspects. And again, a lot of it stems from the perspective of the leaders, the pastors, they're themselves, right? And then it also serves to note that they are critical for creating vision and spearheading those community endeavors. But again, as we noted before, that millennials are tending to shift towards other endeavors outside of the church to do those community things. So it takes leaders, clergy leaders who have that vision, create that vision to spearhead those things. So when you look at millennials and other organizations, the first bullet is important to note because older participants' volunteerism was driven by religious organizations. So they're still turning to the church for community involvement and volunteerism, while millennials, again, they're turning to civic, educational, health, and other organization types. So again, your nonprofits, your fraternities, sororities, they're turning to those things to engage in community involvement, right? And then also looking at their relationships with the leaders. When it comes to their corporate jobs and just workforce in general, they look for managers who build trust and invest in them. So this is important to note as we look and evaluate the relationships that they see within the church as well. So in looking at the methodology, the research design, this research was utilized a qualitative phenomenological approach, which is an interpretive qualitative research design that seeks to study the perceived or experienced phenomenon. So really looking at the lived experiences of the millennials, of the participants, right? And specifically transcendental phenomenology was used to seek and understand their experience while also setting aside preconceived notions about the phenomenon being studied. And so the phenomenology was best suited for this study because it allowed me, the researcher, to communicate the experiences of church-going Black millennials with Christian clergy leaders. So the research sample. So to participate in this study, participants had to self-identify as Black, African American, had to be born within the years 1982 through 1996, which encompasses the millennial generation. They had to attend Christian church services at least 2 times a month. So this included if they logged on virtually or attended in person. So that was something to highlight there. It could have been virtual attendance or in-person attendance. They had to live in a southeastern region of the United States, and they could not identify as a clergy member. So implications for clergy leadership, it's knowing that millennials desire to have leaders that exude personal qualities like charisma, being good with people, having high moral standards, and knowing that millennials desire to leave their mark on ministries. They want to help, they want to assist, right? Leaders who are committed to offering this in a church environment will ultimately benefit from millennials' participation. So clergy also have to be willing to humanize themselves and be okay with their struggles in the faith journey and be able to communicate those things with millennials. And so again, millennials don't want sugar-coated or watered down messages or even relationships. They want messages and relationships that clarify and address significant issues head on. So in summation, this was a qualitative phenomenological study that explored the lived experiences and perceptions of Black church-going millennials and how clergy influence their engagement within Christian churches. So I sought to understand the lived experiences of Black millennials to inform Christian clergy leadership practices as a mediator with their engagement. And so this study shares significant findings to help inform Christian leadership practices for enhancing engagement. So the 5 major themes: charismatic relational leaders create positive experiences, insecure judgmental leaders create negative experiences, relationships that foster growth encourage participation, millennials desire substance over surface, and they are also geared towards innovation, outreach, and platforms to share their voice. So this study illustrates how Christian clergy leadership practices and their relationships with millennials also influences their participation in church and what they are actually looking for. And so this research stands to help future research and Christian clergy practices in emphasizing millennial engagement in Christian churches. And so at this time, I'll take questions and feedback from the committee. So finished the dissertation defense,
course, had phone calls afterwards and stuff like that. So this is hours later, but I successfully defended my dissertation, and I'm done. Just some minor revisions to make in one section, and I'm good. I'm officially Dr. Che Cole, and that's crazy to even say, to even express. Like, it hasn't hit me yet, but just grateful for this journey. Perhaps I'll create something at some point just to kind of recap the journey and talk about it. But yeah, this was feels good to be done. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my time or anything like that now that I'm done. But it's just a sense of relief to finally be done with this journey and really look and see what the future holds and go from there. So yeah, man, that's it.